Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome to Good Measure. My name is David, and I'll be your host today. Today, we have Charles Adkins, NFT strategist, VP of marketing at NFT Genius, and co-founder of NFT Thought Leaders. He's here today to talk with us about crypto, ETH, blockchain technologies, and hopefully to get to know a little bit more about the nitty-gritty of DAO tech. Charles, thank you so much for being here with us today. Do you mind quickly introducing yourself to those in the audience who may not be familiar with you and your work?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for having me. Charles Adkins. So I'm the current VP of marketing at NFT Genius, the co-founder of NFT Thought Leaders, former vice president at Polygon, the well-known layer 2 blockchain. Background is mostly in emerging technologies and then bringing those emerging technologies into major brands. So I've done work with Nike, Red Bull, Anheuser-Busch, Marvel, you kind of name it. I kind of started one of the first digital marketing agencies in the mid 90s, where one of my first clients was actually Yahoo. So that gives you an idea of how old I am.
Yeah. All right, that's awesome. So let's just jump straight into it. And the first thing I really wanted to get to know is, so now with so much new technologies on NFTs, Metaverse, crypto, all that, why are so many brands and leaders these days so confused about these sort of topics? And how do you usually explain it to these major companies and their directors?
Yeah, I think a lot of major companies are looking for an answer on what these buzzwords actually are. And I think right now, there's not very many people out there that explain the technology very well. So there's two very polarized ideas of what this technology is. Some people lump blockchain, DAOs, Web3, Metaverse all in with quote unquote crypto, which typically doesn't have a great reputation. And so a lot of companies will steer clear of that. There's others that really adopt the technology. They want to learn about it, but they're doing it in an improper fashion because they think it's a great way to get a PR headline. So, my job is doing a lot of that, demystifying what it actually is and how it can be utilized in a business application setting.
Mm-hmm. And so I guess getting more into deep of it, as someone who's directed many different companies, and F5 notably, and helped so many high-profile companies, what are some companies that you have consulted in the past that do not incorporate NFTs and or the metaverse into their brand that you think should do so, and how would they benefit from incorporating said technologies?
I mean, I think at this point, a lot of the ones I've worked with in the past are actually utilizing blockchain technology and NFTs in some fashion, whether, it may not be an NFT collectible, but, there are some major corporations out there using NFTs as access control through their HR departments. So a specific employee will get an NFT as part of their identification badge, and that basically is tied to the blockchain, saying that they can go into building A, building B, but not building C. So that's one way that, a lot of companies are using it that isn't necessarily a really cool NFT collectible, but it is still an NFT.
Yeah. All right. And so I guess getting down to it, I really wanted to talk about one of the predictions that you made for the future of NFTs, and specifically how Coinbase will actually overtake OpenSea and become the premier sort of NFT marketplace. And so what has Coinbase sort of laid out in terms of foundations that will allow it to beat out marketplaces like OpenSea in the near future?
I think one of the things I see them doing is heavily focusing on product, which is a really big deal in the space. OpenSea has not done the best job in the world at focusing on product improvements and iterations for users. So Coinbase, ever since they launched just as a crypto exchange, has always worked on simplifying user acquisition, simplifying the process of a user acquiring crypto, and they're doing the same thing in the NFT space. And along with that, they have a really robust learning and knowledge center, which I think OpenSea lacks completely. So just applying all of those things that they do in their general business into an NFT platform, just by nature of focusing on the consumer and focusing on the product, I think they're pretty well set to win. And obviously their funding and the amount of money they have to work that product through is vastly larger than any players in the marketplace.
And so speaking about sort of like marketing and getting the word out, do you have any thoughts specifically to the ad that they put out during the Super Bowl? Any thoughts on the actual innovation and the thought process behind that ad?
Yeah, I mean, that was a really cool ad. I jumped up really quick. I tried to scan it with my phone. I got it in, obviously I already have a Coinbase account. So if you already had an account, it allowed you to enter a drawing for $1 million in crypto. So that was cool, but I like that innovation. I like what they did. And, whoever would have thought that because of COVID, the QR code would make such a comeback. I mean, it was like the coolest thing in 2008. And then, here you go, you see it in 2022 because nobody, can really touch each other during
Yeah.
the COVID times that the QR code comes back. And I think it was just so simple that it caught everybody off guard. It was like, wow, that was a really easy ad and a lot of engagement.
And so I guess connecting to the consumer, I guess, as someone who's really paid attention to consumer needs, as someone who's really trying to consult and help companies, how have NFT trends sort of changed over time, and especially like over these last 2 years when we've seen this sort of explosive growth? Has there been over time less but more consistent growth after all the hype is sort of like mellowing out-ish, or has there been a different shift in interest in like what types of NFTs are really interesting, or is there a specific market with crypto that's exploding?
Yeah, I think like, a lot of the NFTs, a lot of it just super blasted off right after the Beeple sale of the all days of, 69 million. Obviously everyone started to pay attention. That got a huge headline and everyone's like, okay, these are like collectibles. This is kind of cool. Like, let's look into that. And I would say that the interesting thing is the year prior to that, at least in the collectible space, people were really latched onto sports cards for a while and not necessarily NFTs. Like, there was a big headline, when CryptoKitties came out, then it was kind of dead for a long time. And actually, I know from people that worked at OpenSea, there was, before that Beeple sell, there was actually 3 different times that they almost went bankrupt and they almost went out of business. So like, until that Beeple sale hit, they were pretty much bootstrapped down to the last few dollars. So really good that picked up. I would say like, obviously 2021, like the collectibles, the PFP projects were like a huge deal. Everybody used them as status symbols.
Yeah.
I think now we're starting to see like the different blockchains come into the equation, the Solanas, the Polygons, the immutables, and Flow. Flow and Dapper obviously is just killing it on everything.
Yeah.
But it's these low gas fee blockchains that use different consensus mechanisms that really have different use cases outside of PFPs that are really winning the year, at least in 2022 so far.
And so speaking about like different use cases of blockchains, like with DAOs sort of gaining more traction, like what are your thoughts about sort of the democratization of sort of work, and how do you think it will affect major companies?
Yeah, it's going to affect major companies more than I think they even realize yet. One of the things that I'm looking at, and a lot of investors are looking at right now, is kind of health insurance DAOs, where instead of sending a claim into one claim adjuster that may be having a bad day, you basically have a DAO set up that actually reviews and votes on different health insurance claims, and they're rewarded with an internal token of some kind as well. So I think that just, it provides a way for people to have a little bit of autonomy in their job and the things that they're interested in, and still earn income and gain dividends and be a part of a really big community. So it's going to change a lot about the way the businesses to handle everything, I think.
And I think going back, this is going to be a bit similar, but what industries do you think could really utilize this blockchain technology that really has sort of like slept on it? I think there's like the music industry for me was really interesting in how Snoop Dogg and Death Row Records were sort of approaching this.
Yeah, that's a big industry for this year. I know a lot of artists are trying to get into it, and actually the ones that are tied to major record labels are having the hardest time. It's actually those people that are on independent labels, or people like Snoop that can actually just buy their own label, because all these pieces of music have like 4 or 5 different legal rights to all of them. There's, like vocal rights, mechanical rights, the composition, like all of them have, they're so complicated that nobody actually knows who gets money when you sell this NFT. So the way to get around that is to do what Snoop Dogg did, just buy the whole record label, then you can do whatever you want. So like, and that's why the independent artists you mostly see launching NFTs, because they have that ultimate control. So especially for like starting musicians out there, like really think about your thought process before you sign with a major music label, because you may actually be able to do some good things on your own, and it may give you a little bit more freedom.
Yeah. And so speaking about sort of freedom and jobs, I guess, I want to transition to an ongoing venture of yours. I'd actually like to ask you a bit about an NFT related project of yours called Gaia. Could you tell them a little bit, could you tell the audience a bit about Gaia and how you're sort of trying to transform the digital NFT marketplace experience?
Yeah, so Gaia is really our marketplace. It's built on the Flow blockchain. So that's one major key component is no ETH, no EVM compatible thing. So right now we've really been focused on putting up sports properties, because obviously people that have the Dapper wallet and build on the Flow blockchain right now are mostly NBA Top Shot holders. So NBA Top Shot holders, NFL all day. We're really closely aligned with Dapper Labs. They're actually one of our investors in our company. So we really try to do our best we try to have feature parity with OpenSea. So all the same features, but it's built on Flow. You can use fiat currency, you can use crypto. Obviously, the Dapper wallet is just a great utilization to do that. So this year, I mean, we're really pushing to get more major IPs on there, partner a little bit deeper with Dapper on some of their other secondary markets. And yeah, we're getting ready to close our Series A round on that too. So we're a few weeks out from that, and it's really exciting.
All right, that sounds awesome. And so I guess transitioning to you, I guess, as someone who's really who has quote looks forward to sort of having a conversation to explore how our paths intersect professionally, what have been some of the most fulfilling conversations that you've had in the past, and what have you learned from them?
I mean, I think some of the best ones I have are just with people that are genuinely curious. Like one that really caught me off guard was last year. I got the really good opportunity to talk to Mark Cuban for almost an hour, which is, he doesn't necessarily have a lot of time. So to me, that was a big deal. But one thing that like really struck me about him is that like, he's not joking around about the blockchain space. Like I asked him how he got into NFTs, and actually I had asked him, what was the first NFT you bought? And he said it was his own. And I go, what do you mean? And he goes, well, I wasn't going to tell anyone else to buy an NFT unless I knew how to mint one and I knew how to buy one.
Yeah.
So he went and he learned how to code in Solidity. He created his own NFT, and then he bought his own NFT before he did anything. And I'm like, of course, that's like, I mean, the guy has no time in the world. He's a billionaire, yet he's learning to code Solidity just so he can like get into the industry. And I thought that was just like wildly genuine of like, you would think you would just hire someone to do that and whatever, but he's in the weeds. Like he really does the work.
And that also really, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I would say that's just a conversation that really caught me off guard. I was not expecting him to be so hands-on with everything.
Yeah. And that also really just shows like how important this industry might be in the future, right? Because if someone like him is actually taking his own time to sort of go out of his way to learn this, it must be so important for us to do as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And he's the one that really got me kind of looking more at enterprise solutions for blockchain, like way outside of because that's what he said. He said, the investments I'm looking for into the future are people going into health insurance, people handling, supply chain, just eco-friendly import export, just like verification and authenticity of different goods that countries are known for, like verifying the actual origin of coffee imports was like another big one we talked about. Like things you just don't necessarily see on a profile picture.
All right. And so I guess lastly, on a more fun note, what are some of the favorite places that you've actually traveled to, and what have been some of your favorite foods that you've had while traveling?
Oh man, Yeah, I've traveled a lot of places. Shoot, I mean, South America's fun. I'm a California guy, so like I stick around town quite a bit. I actually really enjoy the food here. I enjoy the beaches here. Obviously, food in Italy is incredible. Really good place. Yeah, I mean, I can't even pick one. I can tell you one place that I want to go that I haven't been is Australia. So that's on my list. So if anyone listening out there in Australia, give me some good tips.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.